Once upon a time in the bustling streets of London, a young man named Ethan lived a life filled with routine and ambition. He was an Englishman who worked as a software developer, often spending his days behind a desk, creating lines of code. Ethan's life was comfortable but lacked excitement, and he often found himself longing for something more meaningful. One summer evening, Ethan attended a friend's wedding, an event that would change his life forever. The reception was filled with laughter, music, and conversations in different accents. As Ethan made his way through the crowd, he noticed her, Layla. She stood by the window, looking out at the London skyline. Her dark eyes reflected the city lights, and her graceful presence made her seem like a vision from another world. She was an Arabian girl with long, silky black hair and wore a soft turquoise dress that complemented her radiant smile. Layla had moved to London with her family a few months ago from Dubai. Her father had been transferred for work, and she found herself in a city that was both exciting and unfamiliar. Despite the modernity of London, she felt homesick and often longed for the warmth of the desert sands and the familiar sounds of Arabic spoken around her. Their first meeting was by chance. Ethan, struck by her beauty, walked up to her, unsure of what to say. "Hello," he started, his voice a little uncertain. Layla turned to face him, and for a moment there was silence, as if the entire world had paused. She smiled a warm, inviting smile that immediately put Ethan at ease. "Hello," she replied softly, her accent a melodic mix of English and Arabic. "I don't think I've seen you before. Are you a friend of the bride's family?" They began talking, and as the night wore on, their conversation flowed effortlessly. Ethan found himself captivated by Layla's intelligence, her kindness, and the stories she shared about her life in Dubai. She spoke of her love for the desert, the family gatherings, the smells of spices in the air, and the sound of the call to prayer that echoed through the streets. Ethan, in turn, shared his life in London, his dreams, and his passion for technology. There was something magical about their connection, something deeper than just attraction. It felt as though they had known each other for much longer than just a few hours. Their bond grew stronger with each passing moment, and before the night ended, Ethan asked for her number. Layla smiled and handed him her phone, their fingers brushing slightly as she did. The days that followed were filled with long conversations. They talked about everything: family, dreams, and aspirations. Layla found herself looking forward to their chats, feeling a sense of comfort she had not experienced since leaving Dubai. Ethan, on the other hand, found that his heart was being pulled in a direction he hadn't expected. He was falling in love with her, deeply and completely. But there were challenges that lay ahead. Layla's parents were traditional, and they had very high expectations for her. They expected her to marry someone from their own culture, someone who shared their values and traditions. Ethan knew this would be an obstacle, but he couldn't help the way he felt. He loved her. He loved the way she laughed, the way her eyes sparkled when she talked about her dreams, and the warmth she radiated. Layla, too, found herself in love with Ethan. She admired his kindness, his intelligence, and his respect for her culture. But she also knew the expectations placed upon her. She felt torn between her love for Ethan and her loyalty to her family. It was a love that bridged two worlds, her Arabian roots and Ethan's English heritage, and she wasn't sure if it could survive the weight of tradition. One evening, as they walked through the streets of London, Layla stopped. "Ethan," she said, her voice trembling, "I love you, but I don't know how we can make this work. My family, they would never approve. I don't want to disappoint them." Ethan took her hands in his heart aching. "Layla, I don't care about any barriers. I care about you, about us. I know it's not going to be easy, but I'm willing to fight for you, for us. We can make it work, no matter the challenges." Tears filled Layla's eyes as she looked at him. "You don't understand. My father, my mother, they expect me to marry someone who shares our traditions. They will never accept you. I will do whatever it takes to earn their respect," Ethan said with conviction. "I'll learn your language, understand your culture, I will prove to them that my love for you is true, and that I am worthy of your heart." Layla knew that Ethan's love was pure, and it touched her deeply. But her fear of disappointing her family held her back. It was a constant battle in her heart, torn between the love she had for Ethan and the duty she felt towards her family. She knew that it would take time to convince them, but she also knew that the love they shared was worth the fight. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan's efforts to learn about Arabian culture only deepened his love for Layla. He attended cultural events, learned Arabic phrases, and spent time with her family, always showing them respect. Slowly, they began to see his genuine heart. Layla's parents, though hesitant at first, started to soften. They saw how much Ethan cared for their daughter, and how deeply she loved him. 1 year after their first meeting, Ethan took Layla to the same spot where they first talked, by the window overlooking the London skyline. "Layla," he said, taking her hands in his, "I know we've faced challenges, but I promise you, my love for you will never change. Will you marry me?" Tears filled Layla's eyes as she looked at him. She had never been more certain of anything in her life. "Yes, Ethan, I will marry you, because I love you." Their love story became one of overcoming obstacles, bridging cultures, and proving that love, when true, could conquer all. They spent the next few years blending their two worlds, Ethan embracing the beauty of Arabian traditions, and Layla finding a balance between her roots and the life she built with Ethan in England. Together, they created a life filled with love, respect, and understanding, a life where their hearts were intertwined, no matter the distance between their cultures. Their love was deep, real, and transcended boundaries, proving that love, in its purest form, knows no borders. As the years passed, Ethan and Layla's love only grew stronger. They faced their fair share of challenges, but their commitment to each other was unwavering. Each challenge they encountered, be it cultural misunderstandings, family expectations, or even the trials of daily life, only deepened their bond. Their wedding day arrived, a day they had dreamed about for so long. It was a celebration of love, not just between the two of them, but between two cultures coming together in harmony. Layla wore a beautiful white gown, the fabric shimmering in the soft light, but she also incorporated elements of her heritage, a delicate gold necklace from her mother and a bracelet with intricate Arabic calligraphy that read love and faith. Ethan, too, honored both their worlds. He wore a classic English suit, but had a small pin on his lapel, a gift from Layla's father, an intricate design with Arabic symbols that represented strength, unity, and eternity. It was a sign of respect, a token of the love he had for Layla and her family. Their ceremony was a blend of English and Arabian traditions. They exchanged vows in both English and Arabic. As they sat there in silence, the only sound the gentle hum of the city below and the soft rustling of the desert wind, it was clear that their love had transcended all the hurdles they had faced. The challenges, the cultural differences, the distance between their homes. They had all become small in comparison to the deep, unwavering connection they shared. Years later, when Amina and Sammy were grown, both Ethan and Layla reflected on the lessons they had imparted to their children. They taught them that love wasn't confined to a single culture or tradition. They taught them that respect and understanding were the pillars of any relationship, and that true love was about embracing the uniqueness in one another. Ethan, ever curious about the Arabic language, spoke fluently by then, having studied diligently over the years. Layla, too, had learned more about English customs and traditions, and together they had found the perfect balance. Their children, now young adults, were proud of their heritage and the way they had been raised. Amina, with her quiet grace and strength, had developed a passion for art, often drawing on both Arabic and Western influences in her work. Sammy, energetic and inquisitive, had followed in Ethan's footsteps, studying engineering while also exploring his deep interest in the science and technology of the Arab world. They were a perfect blend of both cultures, and Ethan and Layla couldn't have been prouder. One particular evening, as the entire family gathered for a celebration of Sammy's graduation, Layla and Ethan exchanged a look across the room, a look that spoke volumes. In that moment, surrounded by their children and extended family, they both knew that they had created something beautiful together. It was a love story that wasn't just about two people, but about two families, two cultures, and a legacy of love that would continue for generations to come. Layla leaned her head on Ethan's shoulder as they watched their children laugh and chat with relatives. "We've come so far," she whispered. Ethan kissed the top of her head, his heart full. "We have, and we've built something that will last forever. Our love, our family. It's stronger than anything we could have imagined." And so, as they continued their journey through life, Ethan and Layla knew that their love had stood the test of time. It had crossed oceans, overcome differences, and weathered the storms that life had thrown their way. It was a love that had only deepened with time, and they knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, their bond would endure. In the end, they realized that the greatest gift of all wasn't just the love they had for each other. It was a love that had blossomed between their cultures, their families, and the generations that would carry their story forward. And in that love, they found their forever, allowing their families to witness the love they had cultivated over the years. Layla's family, who had once been skeptical, now stood by their side, proud of the beautiful couple their daughter had found. Ethan's family, too, embraced the traditions Layla brought with her, learning to appreciate the beauty of her culture. The reception was held in a grand ballroom, and the night was filled with music and dancing. The guests enjoyed both traditional English and Arabian songs, and the tables were adorned with a mix of both English roses and Arabian jasmine. The food was a delightful fusion of both cultures: roast lamb, couscous, and English pastries, along with dates, hummus, and baklava. The room was filled with laughter, joy, and the promise of a future filled with love. After the wedding, Ethan and Layla moved to a small town just outside of London. It was a peaceful place where they could start a life of their own, away from the busy city. Their home was filled with love and warmth, decorated with a blend of both English and Arabian touches, soft Persian rugs, Arabic lanterns hanging from the ceiling, and shelves filled with books from both cultures. As they began to build their life together, they often reminisced about the journey that brought them here. They talked about their first meeting at the wedding, the late-night phone calls, the challenges they had overcome, and the love that had guided them through it all. Layla, who had once felt torn between her family and her love for Ethan, found a beautiful balance. She stayed connected with her roots, making regular visits to her family in Dubai and sharing stories with Ethan about her childhood. At the same time, she was building her own identity in London, carving out a life where both her Arabian and English heritage were celebrated. Ethan, who had once been unsure of how to navigate the cultural differences, had grown to love every aspect of Layla's culture. He learned to cook traditional Arabian dishes with Layla, attended cultural festivals, and even began to speak Arabic with her family. He found peace in knowing that love was not about changing who they were, but about embracing each other's differences and finding common ground. Years later, Ethan and Layla became parents to two beautiful children. Their daughter, Amina, had her mother's dark eyes and radiant smile, and their son, Sammy, shared his father's curious spirit and love for technology. Ethan and Layla made sure to teach them the values of both cultures, so that they would grow up knowing the beauty of their mixed heritage. They celebrated both Eid and Christmas, blending the traditions of both families with joy and love. As they sat together in their living room, watching their children play, Ethan looked at Layla with a smile. "Can you believe how far we've come?" he asked. Layla, who had once been uncertain of their future, looked at him with tears in her eyes. "I never imagined I'd be here, Ethan, but now that I am, I can't imagine my life without you." Their love story, which had once seemed improbable, had turned into something beautiful and enduring. They had proven that love, when built on trust, respect, and a deep understanding of each other, could transcend any obstacle. And so, as the years went on, Ethan and Layla continued to live their lives side by side, building a legacy of love that spanned cultures, generations, and borders. Their story was a testament to the power of love, the kind that doesn't just survive but thrives. The love that had started with a chance meeting at a wedding had grown into something eternal, and it was a love that would last through the ages, carried on in the hearts of their children, and the stories they shared for generations to come. And thus, their love became a living, breathing testament to the idea that love, when it's true, knows no boundaries, only hearts intertwined forever. As the years went on, Ethan and Layla's lives continued to unfold in beautiful ways. Their children, Amina and Sammy, grew up surrounded by the rich tapestry of both cultures, Arabic and English, and learned early on how to appreciate the beauty of diversity. Family gatherings in their home were filled with laughter, the aroma of both Arabic spices and English roasts, and music that blended the rhythms of both worlds. There was always something special about these moments, the way the two cultures came together effortlessly, creating an environment of love, acceptance, and understanding. One summer, the family decided to visit Layla's family in Dubai, an experience that brought new perspectives to both Ethan and the children. It was their first trip to the desert city, and the vibrant energy of the bustling streets, the towering skyscrapers standing side by side with traditional souks, and the serene beauty of the endless sand dunes amazed them all. Ethan, who had always been fascinated by the stories Layla shared about her homeland, found himself captivated by the culture in ways he hadn't anticipated. Layla's parents, who had once been cautious about Ethan, now saw him as part of their family in every sense. They welcomed him with open arms, grateful for the love he had shown their daughter and the way he had embraced both her culture and their family. As they gathered for meals under the stars, surrounded by the sounds of the desert and the shimmering lights of Dubai in the distance, Ethan couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude. It was in moments like these, shared with Layla's family, that he realized how much love could bridge any distance between two worlds. As the trip continued, Ethan and Layla took time to explore the city together, revisiting the places where Layla had grown up. Layla showed him the school she had attended, the cafe where she and her friends used to gather, and the quiet spots along the coastline where she'd often go for peace and reflection. They spent time talking about their childhoods, about how much they had changed, and yet how much they were still the same people who had met years ago, their hearts connected by love and the shared memories they had built. One afternoon, as they sat together on the balcony of Layla's family home, overlooking the sparkling lights of Dubai, Layla turned to Ethan, her heart full. "Do you ever think about how much we've grown?" she asked softly, her eyes sparkling in the evening light. Ethan smiled, his eyes reflecting the warmth of their shared journey. "All the time," he replied. "I think about how we met and how I was so uncertain about everything. But now, I couldn't imagine my life without you, without this family, without the beautiful life we've built together." Layla reached out and took his hand, her voice filled with emotion. "It's been a journey, hasn't it? A journey of trust, of learning, and of loving in ways we never imagined possible. But through it all, you've never wavered. You've always been here with me, and I couldn't have asked for a better partner.